it's Karen and Hope back again with Young Lions, and today we're talking about how to not give up on studying apologetics.
Yeah. So I have like a few notes on my paper, so I'll be like reading at the same time talking,
That's
you know. So I first went on Google and I searched up what is exactly apologetics.
Mm-hmm.
And apologetics is that like it says on Google, it's the intellectual defense of the truth in Christian belief, usually considered a branch of theology. So basically it's just defending the Christian belief.
Right.
And like I'm no expert in apologetics. Like I just kind of started studying it. But like one thing I've realized is a lot of people our age, university and all that stuff, or not even in uni, you know, just like a lot of people our age have a lot of questions about the Bible.
Right.
And like how to explain it through like the way we are here on earth, right? Or the reason why we're here. And I think like one of them would be like, if God exists, one simple one would be like, oh, if God exists, why does he allow suffering? Or it could be like, if God is all-knowing, if like he knows everything, then like how do we have free will? All these things, if things are predetermined and everything. And so I've had questions from like that sound harder than that, and some that are really were easier to me than that.
Right.
But like one thing that was really hard was not to give up. You know? Because
yeah.
I felt like I always wanted to give up if I had like an answer and everything. So I kind of broke it down into like 5 simple steps of how to keep going even when you feel like you want to give up, studying it and all of that stuff. And so I wrote them all down here. I feel like the first one is like try your best to be consistent, you know?
Okay.
So like it's like study like 5 to 10 minutes a day, because I feel like that's really hard. I don't know, like consistency in studying the Bible. Like I don't know if you do this, but sometimes if I open my Bible, I just want to go back to sleep. Mm-hmm. You too?
To me, I actually need a routine, or else I won't do it. Yeah. Like for everything in my life, if I don't work out every day, I won't work out at all. Yeah. And if I don't read the Bible every day, I probably just won't read it. Yeah. So it's like I actually have to be really consistent in how I do it. Yeah. Consistency. Oh, okay. Mine is like that's timing, just who I am. Like the time, you know, like if I'm not consistent with the time, then it's just kind of, I just be like, I'll do it at 5 p.m. Oh, I'll do it at 6 p.m. You know what I mean? So there's that. And there's, write down, like, all your questions. I feel like that's one of the biggest ones, because it feels really overwhelming when you have all these questions up in your head, you know? Yeah. So if you write them all down, you'll find that, like, question number 5 is the same as question number 4, or, like, you know? And, like, the answer to that one is going to answer the other ones. Mm-hmm. And I found, like, that really helps. And then another thing is everyone has a different way of studying like the word. So I feel like, or studying for apologetics. So I feel like the first one would be like, I don't know if you're like this, but some people they can go from one question and jump to another one. Ooh. You know? Yeah. As they're studying. And for me that's really overwhelming. I can only focus on one thing, get that one answer. You know what I mean? Are you the same? I think so. Yeah. I guess it depends on the mood I'm in. Like, sometimes I'm like, ooh, I can go forever and I'll just look up a bunch of stuff. But other days I'm like, oh, this is so overwhelming. So it is, like you said, like, writing it down helps you to kind of picture it. And I'm a visual learner, so I think that would really help me. Yeah. And then just to be like, oh, yeah, these connect. So then I can kind of make them into one topic, and then you can kind of break it down. Yeah. From there, and it helps it to
it does. It helps a lot. And just like even saying I'm just gonna do like 10 minutes today. Yeah. Like not even saying I'm gonna do like 30 minutes to an hour. I know some people can study for like 5 hours. I can't do that. You know? It's just like,
I fall asleep.
Yeah, like that. It's not about And then another thing is like broaden your focus. Like I mean like your time, you know, when it comes to those 10 minutes. Maybe today I'm gonna do a sermon, and then tomorrow I'm gonna go back to studying and all that stuff. But if you just focus on questions, it's just kind of like, it's going to get really overwhelming sometimes.
And boring.
And boring, sometimes.
But,
I mean,
it depends.
That means I'm boring. Sometimes I just want to do questions, but then it gets, like, overwhelming for me. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You need to be able to alternate.
Yeah. But then I think of it like an actual, like, relationship. If I'm going on a date with someone, and all the time, all we're doing is coffee, like, the same cafe, the same this, the same that, it gets repetitive, and you don't really
get to predictable.
Yeah, and you don't really feel like you're getting to know that person fully. Mm-hmm. And with God, I feel like there's so many different levels to get to know God. So like maybe there's a sermon that you can go out and read and watch, or you can read different books, all of these different things, and then that can even help you answer. You can read a sermon about watch a sermon about like joy, and then try to answer the thing of, you know, why does God allow suffering or something, and then that can actually help you answer it, you know, your question.
Yeah. So to get opposite spectrums, kind of. Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to I like to do that in terms of like my own opinion. I'll be like, I think this way, but I want to see what someone opposite of me thinks.
Ooh, that is hard.
Because then you can actually strengthen what you believe, because you can be like, I hadn't thought about it in that way, so what do I believe now that I've heard their side? Yeah. Or whatever. So I think that's really good, actually, to be like, I'm going to learn about joy today, and then I'm going to learn about suffering next. Yeah. And then see where they connect or oppose. Okay. Continue.
And then the last thing I want to talk about is just not to feel guilty for having questions in general. I know a lot of people would be like, they would hear from other people or members of the church or just people in general, you shouldn't question God or something like that. I think that's a huge thing. But I always tell people, like, God doesn't give us a brain to commit intellectual suicide. And that's the whole thing I always have to remember, you know what I mean? Because I read that somewhere and I always repeat it to myself. And I'm like, it's okay to have questions. Because at first I felt guilty. I'm like, I have all these questions. Like, why don't I have faith? You know? But, like, just to remember that God actually gave us a brain to think about it, you know? Yeah. And also that deepens your relationship with God. And then that brings me to the last verse, which is the one I wanted you to read.
Oh my gosh, it's still open. Perfect. Okay, so this is from 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 15. It says, "But in your hearts revere Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. But do this with gentleness and respect." Yeah.
So that basically sums it up. It says, like, just to be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks, you know? And so for you to give an answer means you have to have those questions. So it's not a wrong thing to have questions, you know?
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I really liked what it says is that prepare to give an answer. So it's like if we're, like, to not doubt sometimes means that you can't actually find those answers to give to people. So, and we've talked about this a lot, how doubt can actually really increase your faith because you start to research more and you start to look into things so that you actually know what you believe. So I think it's really important. Like, if I don't doubt myself and then someone comes up to me and they're doubting and they ask me a question and I'm like, I have no idea because I've never thought about that before, then I can't have that answer for them and then I have to go back, which is still okay. Like, you can go back and look it up and then you can tell them. Yeah. But it is okay to doubt and be like, what does the Bible say about this?
And it's also okay, like, to not know the answer and say it. Yeah. I know a lot of people, like, their pride level is a bit too high. Yeah. And so they just keep going on this whole thing, you know? Like, I can ask one question and they're answering 50 other questions that I'm not asking, you know what I mean?
And they're doing circular reasoning and not even getting to the point.
And and that kind of discourages even more to keep looking, right? Because it's just like, nobody wants to be honest with me and say, hey, I don't know the answer. Let's look for it together. So that's a huge thing, too.
No, I completely agree. It's okay. Yeah. It's okay to not know, and it's good to say that. And then, like you said, then we can find the answer together if you're open. And if you're not open, just say, I don't care. And then they'll go find someone else to talk to about it. True. Because you might end up hurting them more if you don't actually care about whatever it is and you're just trying to find an easy answer.
Right. True. Yeah. True. Well, that's everything.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's it for us today. I really enjoyed that topic, so maybe we can go more into it eventually. But we'll see you in the next couple of weeks.